for some reason, Bleach has this bad reputation of being a manga that doesn't make sense, has a lot of plot armor, and is poorly written. For those that have read or seen Bleach will obviously know that this isn't true. So I'm gonna go through every misconception in Bleach and try to debunk them as best as I can, starting with Ichigo and Kenpachi. Ichigo versus Kenpachi is one thing that people say, oh, how did Ichigo win against Kenpachi when he's only been sorry before this, he's a rookie. And if you read along far enough into 1000 Year Blood War, long story short, he nerfs himself so much to the point where whenever he fights, he just nerfs himself to that point so that he can enjoy fighting for as long as he can. And that's basically the reason why he was tying with Ichigo, or just on Ichigo's level. Not just that, but Kenpachi has some bullshit where every time he gets close to dying, he gets some sort of Zenkai boost. I'm pretty sure it's not infinite. I'm pretty sure Unohana only fought him to get him to the point where he can use his actual Shikai, and that's what the Zenkai boost was for. But that's the main thing why you see Kenpachi ties or just barely wins with all his opponents in Bleach. Aside from Giriko, who just got one shot like a bitch. I don't know what that was for, to be honest. That was actually disgusting. Another thing I see is the whole thing about Ichigo learning bankai in 2 days being some sort of plot device, which typically stuff like that would be plot armor if it was only Ichigo doing it. But it also mentioned that's how Kisuke got his bankai, and that's also how Renji got his. The thing with that device that you basically shank your sword in and then you just train with it for a while is basically kind of like a cheat mechanism to get a fake bankai. And if anything, someone like Renji, who learnt it quicker than Ichigo, I would expect someone to say that he had more plot armor because he learnt it way faster, but apparently only falls on Ichigo. But the problem with that bankai method is once you get your bankai, it's not your legit bankai. Like, it's not the real deal. It's like a fake version. And you can see that with Ichigo and his sword. Like, it's not the real Tensei Zangetsu, in the same way that for Renji, his Hihio Zabimaru isn't his real bankai. That's not the real thing. The thing that he used to fight against Mask, which was So Zabimaru, that's his legit bankai. He was only using a part of it. And Ichigo wasn't the only person to unlock bankai in 2 days. Both Ichigo and Renji learned it in like 1 or 2 days, and Kisuke learned it in 3 days using that method. Yo, I don't know why people say this. The whole thing with Ichigo versus Grimmjow being some sort of like plot device, or Orihime being Ichigo's power-up, but that wasn't the whole point of the fight. In their first fight, after Ichigo gets completely bodied and he goes into his bankai state, he uses the black Getuga for like the first time. That was able to like scar him heavy. So from that point on, he was always a level above Grimmjow. Not just that, but once he learned how to use the mask, in their second fight, I don't care if Grimmjow lost a fucking arm, Ichigo was working that nigga in the 11 seconds he had his mask on. Like, no bullshit, look at this. So in their last fight, where they end up being toe-to-toe, they were never toe-to-toe. Ichigo was actually way stronger than him by that point, because he had the Hollow Mask on for minutes. But the thing is, the problem with having that mask on was that Orihime was there. She basically has PTSD from her own brother trying to murk the shit out of her, like back in episode 3 or 4. So the whole thing was that like Ichigo didn't want to go too crazy because they thought that it would scare her, basically. So what you have to understand is that if Orihime was not there, Grimmjow would have been dealt with. And the thing is, once Orihime says that she's not scared or whatever, and she just wants him to not get hurt, he basically ends the fight right there. He was stronger than Grimmjow for like a long time. The thing is, he just had to learn how to use the mask. That's really it. Once he learned how to use the mask, it was reps. It was GG's. I don't know why niggas keep throwing this out. They're saying that Ulquiorra is the strongest Espada or some bullshit like that. Like, bro, do you not see the ginormous 4 on his chest? He's the 4th strongest Espada. And then the myth that people want to pull up is about the fact that with his second resurrection, and when he said, oh, not even Lord Aizen has seen this form. Nigga, Aizen knows about the form, he just hasn't seen it. He specifically said Aizen hasn't seen it. Doesn't say he doesn't know about it. And Aizen, he made the Espada himself. Why would he make something that he doesn't know about? I'm pretty sure he knows everything about the Espada that he makes. Because a nigga like Wonder Weiss, that he made specifically for Yamamoto, he knew exactly what his thing was. It's not like he just came out of nowhere. He specifically engineered these Espada. And the whole shit about Vasto, Lorde, Hollow Ichigo being some sort of random power-up, it was never a random power-up. It was mentioned twice before it came up. The first time it was mentioned was the time where Ichigo was fighting Yami in that giant crater. Ulquiorra peeped Ichigo's power level and he says, at some point his spiritual pressure is higher than mine, and at some points it's really low. That was the first thing. The second thing was that literally when he learned how to use his mask, White says to him, if you fuck up, I'm taking your body. He says that literally. So when he fucks up against Ulquiorra, he took his body and he dealt with him. I think the craziest thing I've seen, I used to think this as well, where Ichigo being like every single race in Bleach is some sort of bullshit. But to be honest, when you really think about it, it makes a lot more sense. And I'm pretty sure in some way it was foreshadowed, right? Because Ichigo being Shinigami and Hollow isn't a crazy thing. You see the visors are like that. Aizen becoming something like that, or like Tosen doing that as well. Being a mix between Shinigami and Hollow isn't a crazy thing. Even Grimmjow is like that, but we'll get to that in a minute. Ichigo also being a Fullbringer, right? That was something that caught me off guard at first. But when Grimmjow says that humans get Fullbring when their parents survives a Hollow attack, Hollow bits stay in them, I think by that point he already had Ichigo's mother's backstory planned for that. Because if you really think about it, how in the fuck is a human going to go up against the Hollow and survive? And Ichigo also being Shinigami, Hollow, and also a Fullbringer, that's not crazy either, because Grimmjow is the exact same. I think the thing that catches many people off guard is Ichigo being a Quincy, but when they give you the whole backstory of how Ichigo's mother survived a whole Hollow attack, it makes a lot more sense. I recorded this like way after when I did that that whole recording, but I just want to add one little thing about people when they say Ichigo is too power fed or he has some insane plot armor because he's every single race. I want you to look at the entirety of Bleach and realize that the only difference that makes him like extremely special is that he's a Quincy, and that's it. I want you to look at people like Aizen, like Grimmjow, Shinji, Hiyori, and all the other Vizards and realize that if they had a Quincy parent, they would be almost the same as Ichigo. Literally the only thing that sets Ichigo apart is that he's a Quincy. And even though he's a Quincy, so far we haven't seen him use any Quincy abilities apart from Loot. But that was him using it on instinct and not on purpose. The thing with Ichigo also being a Fullbringer isn't that crazy, because at that point in the story, in the Fullbringer arc, both Ichigo and Grimmjow that we knew of had the same biological makeup. They were both Soul Reapers, humans, Fullbringers, and they also had a Hollow. And to be honest, I would even say someone like Aizen and Grimmjow are more advantaged than Ichigo is, because Aizen, who is fused to the Hogyoku, which is quite literally a plot device, like literally, and it makes him immortal, so he can't die. And even Grimmjow, who literally took Ichigo's Fullbring, so by that point Ichigo only had the Soul Reaper and Hollow powers. He didn't have a Fullbring. Even if he did, it would still only be getting attention. So I don't see how Ichigo having all this DNA makes him so broken, especially because he's barely used his Quincy side, at least not heavily at the point where I'm at in the anime. Maybe that might change, I don't know. But yeah, that was really all the points I wanted to go for about Bleach. If there were any points I missed or if I was wrong, which I'm usually not, just let me know. Like the vid, sub to the channel, bro, you know what's up. Peace. Program